Hey, Shalom family. Happy Sabbath. Pray you're well. As you can see, that this session is entitled "Knowing a Friend." Goes by experience with many of us. We thought we've had friends, and then it turns out that they may have been a great friend or been the worst of people that you've ever met in your life. So I'm going to start with this scripture just to open up. Sirach, Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, chapter 6 and verse 7. Hold on. I'm just reading Wisdom of Solomon. What a great start. Okay, the book of Sirach, chapter 6 and verse 7, which reads, "If thou wouldest get a friend, prove him first, and be not hasty to credit him." Now, I know in our times of being acquainted with somebody, we they may have, like a good first impression about them. And then further down the line, you start to see true colors shown in this person. And it always takes certain occasions or events for you to see the true colors in this person who you would have deemed to be a potential friend. And then it turns out that they're not your friend. I'm going to read on. It says, "For some man is a friend for his own occasion, and will not abide in the day of thy trouble." Now, there's a reason why, like, I'm going to bring out some scriptures pertaining to that verse as well, because they're a friend for their own occasion. I was going to entitle this class "Friends with or Without Benefits," because some people only become your friend or befriend you because you are a use to them. Okay, they may not be a use to you, but they will make you feel or think that you need them in your life. I remember I did a live regarding this before when I was walking somewhere. It's like kind of a narcissistic approach. But when you're in a lower state, they're never there to be seen. More than likely, you're mocked, backbitten, or they're just not there for you. They don't want to hear about your sorrows, or they're not there to help lift you up when you're brought down. So these are things to know if you are around true friends. Knowing a friend is very important. So going back to Sirach 6 and 7, it says, "Prove a friend first and be not, if thou wouldest," sorry, let me just read it. "If thou wouldest get a friend, prove him first and be not hasty to credit him." You have to prove someone for a long period of time. Even once you've established a friendship, you can't be complacent in that friendship. You still need to examine them. And the reason why I'm saying that is this. I'm going to go to, is it 2 Corinthians chapter 13 and verse 5? Let me go here real quick. 2 Corinthians chapter 13. Yes. 2 Corinthians chapter 13 and verse 5, which reads, "Examine yourselves, whether ye be in the faith. Prove your own selves. Know ye not your own selves how that Jesus Christ is in you, except ye be reprobates?" Now, the key thing I'm getting here is, the question I'm asking is, how long must we examine ourselves and prove our own selves? Isn't to the end, until the end, when the Messiah returns. So how much more is the friend that you're trying to prove? You need to be proving them daily, daily, daily. They may have done great things for you, but some of your friends maybe battling spirits, being troublesome. They may have issues with you, but it's like that kind of love-hate relationship. It's like let's talk about Jacob and Esau. They're brothers. Now, do you remember when Jacob met Esau in the wilderness? And they gave each other hugs, you know? And Esau's hug was not a fake hug. Yes, he knew it was his brother, but he still had a perpetual hatred because of the birthright situation. Now, I know in a lot of, when I say relationships, I'm not talking about marriage alone. Relationships also your friendship, your family, your family relationships and things like that. And I know there's some of us that's had, we've gone toe to toe with our siblings, but we still will love them. It's like that. It's like we have a confusion of trying to be a good friend to a person, and when it gets to the point where you hate the person that they're being at the moment, but you still love them, and then sometimes you have a wrath kindled against that friend, brother, sister, mother, father. It gets that deep. Spouse, it's all of that. But we need to know who our friends are. Let's just focus on the friend thing. I've just obviously went a bit sideways, but not too far. So I'm going to continue back in the book of Sirach, and I read Sirach chapter 6 and verse 9. And it says, "And there is a friend who, being turned to enmity and strife, will discover thy reproach." These are the ones that will focus on your errors, and they will use that against you. This is why I can't remember the scripture. There's one where you have to be careful with there's things that you reveal to certain people because they could use it against you as well. Is that a true friend that would do that? You've confided in them about one of your deepest and darkest secrets, and they've maybe backbitten you or decided to gossip about your situation rather than trying to help lift you up. Even if they did give you some advice, you may be unaware of what they're doing behind your back, and it's scary in that aspect, because that person, you may have confided in them and said, you gave them a hug, said thank you for listening to me. But that person is using that as some ammunition, maybe because they have their own issues, but they're using it as ammunition. It's like, oh God, gosh, I got you now. I've got you. Now I know some of your secrets. I can use it against you, because it's like, now you revealing that, they can use that as some form of kryptonite. And imagine if you're the only person that knew that something about that person, and you maliciously went around to other people, or you, you tell them, or well, you tell them things about this person, and then all of a sudden, this person, the person that you told, you don't know, or you haven't proved that friend that you've told, and they start to spread rumors, or when I say rumors, it could be true or not, and it comes all the way back around, and you realize, hang on, how come more people know about my secret when I only told one person, but now more than 10 people know? This is where you need to understand what kind of friends you have around you, because it's not even just that element. There's many other factors involved about regarding, sorry, us knowing who our friends are. Now, when it comes to proving a friend, you know, and being not hasty to credit them, this is how you have to try them. Because what does it say in 1 John 4 and 1? It says, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits. You need to know who you're dealing with and who you have allowed in your circle, because some of these people are toxic, and you don't want to become like that. You don't want to become that beast dwelling with its kind. All right, with me? Let's read on. Verse 10. Again, so this is Sirach chapter 6 and verse 10. Again, some friend is a companion at the table, and will not continue in the day of thy affliction. But in thy prosperity he will be as thyself, and will be bold over thy servants. If thou be brought low, he will be against thee, and will hide himself from thy face. Do you know how sad that is? Imagine. This is why a lot of people, there's that saying, What does it say? If you can't take me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. Most people use that in like on a relationship spousehood status. Like if you're trying to meet someone of the opposite sex. This is friendship in general. Imagine when you're brought low, they're hiding their face, like they don't want to be a part of you. They don't want to help lift you up or even support you. Or even when someone is speaking of their lowest state, saying, "Oh, look at this person," look at them being in how can I say, "Oh, this person's waste" or whatever. Anyways, they're getting mocked. But that friend's supposed to be supporting them. Say, "Do you know what this person's going through right now? Have you actually gone to the person and asked them if they're all right, or are you just going to speak about them?" Sorry if this is shaking because every time I talk, I'm using my hands and I'm shaking the table. But yeah, I'm going to read verse 12 again. It says, "If thou be brought low, he will be against thee and will hide himself from thy face." That's happened in the book of Job. Job mentioned it in a few verses as well about his three friends that came to visit him when he was enduring afflictions. I'll probably grab one or two scriptures in that. But if you know the story of Job, it's very heavy, and all praise to the Most High to make sure that that story was included, so we can not only acknowledge that we have to remain faithful through afflictions, but also to understand what type of friends do you have with you when you're in that lowest state. Okay, verse 13 says, "Separate thyself from thine enemies and take heed of thy friends." A true friend will know what to do. And we'll get some scriptures on that further down. I haven't got the scriptures fully organized, but I think in the will of the Father, I have enough precepts here to be able to support what I'm talking about. Okay, so from here, let's go on because actually, what I'll do. No, no, no. I'm going to continue. Let's continue because I want to explain to you about a situation in the Old Testament. I want to go to First Samuel chapter 16 and verse 14. And we're talking about Daniel and Saul here. Now, obviously, Saul was king at the time. Daniel was a servant to the king, right? And he was appropriately fulfilling his duties as a servant. He was doing that from a very young age, like, from the time when the Philistines came to us, David and Goliath and all that. And he was doing his due diligence as according to what he's supposed to be doing as a servant, not unto men, but unto the Most High. And the Most High obviously put people in place for us to conform to. Some of the people that we conform to weren't right in their spirit fully, but we still had to fulfill our duties. It's just like Abigail and Nabal. Um, Imagine Nabal was like, okay, this is a husband and wife situation. However, you're supposed to establish a friendship with your spouse anyway, because you spoke, for example, with them, Abigail. When Nabal was being disrespectful to David, David decided to go 400 man deep to him. Now, Abigail knew that he had the spirit of Belial in him, the devil. He was a churlish man, Nabal, right? And she could have easily escaped that relationship because she understood, because remember, she was a woman of understanding. And understanding is those that keep the commandments, and according to Psalms 111 and verse 10. And she saved him. I was about to say saved his AWS. And that's what a true friend would do. Like, if your friend is in some sort of turmoil, then you as a friend would try and help lift them up out of that situation. But she could have been like, well, this guy's churlish. I don't need this man. I don't deserve this type of man. I need to have something better. She could have allowed David to come and pepper the hell out of him. But guess what? She saved him on that occasion. You know, that's not only a wife, that's a friend. She helped him out, saved him from getting destroyed on that moment. So, anyways, from there, we're going to Samuel chapter 16. Because if you know if you're very aware of David's friendship here, he had a heavy friendship with Saul's son Jonathan. Now that was a heavy friendship. They were so close. Right? If I was to look at a set of friends in the Bible, it'd have to be Jonathan and David. Imagine Jonathan had the situation of having to deal with his own father and also his friend David. Now imagine, like, Jonathan knew the state of his father. That's why he protected David on so many occasions. You know, told him when to flee and to speak to my father. He was there telling his father, like, you know, David he's a man of God. The father's with him. And Saul, he had like mixed emotions because he favored David on many occasions, but then also he had a jealous spirit of David over David as well. So let's go to what did I say? 1 Samuel chapter 16 and verse 14. So the first book of Samuel, so I'm flicking one page at a time just to get to one chapter. 16 and verse 14. There we go. So if you're aware, the Most High obviously put the spirit on Saul for him to be ruler over Israel, right? But this is what happened on this occasion. It said, but the spirit of the Lord departed from Saul, and an evil spirit from the Lord troubled him. Now imagine the Most High put this spirit on him. Now this was for a specific patriarch to be able to deal with it. Let's find out. And Saul's servant said unto him, behold, now an evil spirit from God troubleth thee. Let our Lord now command thy servants which are before thee to seek out a man who is a cunning player on an harp, and it shall come to pass, when the evil spirit from God is upon thee, that he shall play with his hand, and thou shalt be well. And Saul said unto his servants, provide me now a man that can play well, and bring him to me. Then answered one of the servants, and said, behold, I have seen a son of Jesse, or Yesi, of the Bethlehemite, can't say it, the Bethlehemite, that is cunning in playing, and a mighty valiant man, and a man of war, and prudent in matters, and a comely person, and the Lord is with him. Wherefore Saul sent messengers unto Jesse and said, send me David thy son, which is with the sheep. And Jesse took an ass laden with bread and a bottle of wine and a kid, and sent them by David his son unto Saul. And David came to Saul and stood before him, and he loved him greatly, and he became his armor bearer. Now, remember that part. Saul loved him greatly. Okay? Just remember that. Verse 22. And Saul sent to Jesse, saying, let David, I pray thee, stand before me, for he hath found favor in my sight. And it came to pass, when the evil spirit from God was upon Saul, that David took an harp and played it with his hand. So Saul was refreshed and was well, and the evil spirit departed from him. So David, as a servant, fulfilling his duties. The scriptures say that we need to serve one another. Okay, so he was a servant. And when it say, remember, even in Revelation, let me show you something. I'm going to go back here because I want to know, this is the relationship that we should establish amongst one another. I'm going to Revelation chapter 19 and verse 10. It's not in my list of notes, but I want to show that I know the Messiah said that he's a servant as well. But check this, Revelation chapter 19 and verse, I think it's 10. Yeah. So this was John on the island of Patmos. Okay, it says, "And I fell at his feet to worship him, and he said unto me, See thou do it not. I am thy fellow servant, and of thy brethren that have testimony of Jesus. Worship God, for the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy." So the main part I'm getting out of that is that even the angel that stood before him said, I'm your fellow servant. I'm your fellow servant. So this is how we're supposed to serve one another as brethren and as friends. So David did what he had to do as a servant and also being a friend to Saul as well to help him out. Now, Saul, obviously, mixed emotions. He had evil spirits on him at many occasions. When you read the relationship between him and David, it was that love, hate, love, hate, love, hate. You know, I want to beat you up one day, but the other day I want you right by my side. To be careful and be mindful about those people that's around you, because some of them they will they will drill you down to the ground, and then they'll offer to pick you up now and again. It happened to us in slavery, by the way. It's kind of some form of emotional abuse that happens if you're very subject to it. I'll be honest with you guys. We can be victim to it and fall for it. You feel like you owe the person, even though they're the ones that put you down there. Same thing with colonization. What the other nations have done to Israel. Same thing. They put you down and pick you up when they overtake another land. They put you under in a detrimental situation, and then they're like the peacekeepers as well at the same time. You either one or the other. You're either good, you're either bad, or you're either ugly. Right? Remember, this is that whole lukewarm spirit that we need to refrain from. You're either hot or you're either cold. You can't be in between. Okay. So from there, we're going to stay in the book of Samuel. We're going to go to the chapter 19 and verse 1. I'm going to read this whole chapter and I'll see if I can break it down a bit. Excuse me. All right. So this is the first book of Samuel, chapter 19 and verse 1. And Saul spake to Jonathan, his son, and to all his servants that they should kill David. But Jonathan, Saul's son, delighted much in David. And Jonathan told David, saying, Saul, my father seeketh to kill thee. Now therefore I pray thee, take heed to thyself until the morning, and abide in a secret place and hide thyself. True friend, telling you, something's about to happen. I've just been told by my father, he's going to kill you. That's my dad. My dad's going to kill you, but bro, friend, go and hide yourself. I'm informing you. Now, if he was a fearful man of like Saul, Jonathan, and he did not acknowledge and have knowledge of the sincerity of a friendship, then he could have allowed David without informing him to get killed. You know, but Jonathan, as a friend, did exactly what he's supposed to do, was to inform him. It's just like he that remember it says in the scriptures in 1 John 3:16 or 3:15, sorry, 3:15. So the first book of John, chapter 3:15 says, He that hateth his brother is a murderer. Now, if you don't inform them or warn them about anything that's gonna come to pass, then you hate the person. You're not a friend to them, you're not a brother to them, you know. But anyways, let's read on. And I will go out and stand beside my father in the field where thou art, and I will commune with my father of thee, and what I see, that I will tell thee. And Jonathan spake, you're right, Elliot. And Jonathan spake good of David unto Saul his father, and said unto him, Let not the king sin against his servant, against David, because he have not sinned against thee, and because his works have been to thee the word very good. So Jonathan's there trying to consult with his father and saying, well, David hasn't done anything. So why are you going to sin against the father? Because remember, we read in verse 16 that all the servants, they knew that the Lord was with David. So why would he sin against someone who is with the Lord? That means he's sinning against the Most High. But Jonathan acknowledged this. So this guy's a good guy. So therefore, Jonathan's been a good friend to David to even help him and actually go into his own father to try and help, to change the mindset of his father towards David. So his dad, his father, as he said, he loved David, but now further down, he wants to kill him. That's a serious love-hate relationship right there. Anyways, verse 5, he said, "For he did put his life in his hand and slew the Philistine. And the Lord wrought a great salvation for all Israel. Thou sawest it, and did rejoice. Wherefore then wilt thou sin against innocent blood to slay David without a cause?" And when it says without a cause, it means without righteous cause. Because David didn't sin. The only time people were slew back in the day for their sin, well, it was for sin, when they were stoned to death. David didn't sin. So what was Jonathan's issue? David was well favored amongst many, and Saul had a very jealous spirit. Okay, let me go on. Verse 6. And Saul hearkened unto the voice of Jonathan, and Saul sware, "As the Lord liveth, he shall not be slain." And Jonathan called David, and Jonathan showed him all those things. And Jonathan brought David to Saul, and he was in his presence in time past. Now I want to get some scriptures. I want to go to Sirach. Before I continue, I want to go to Sirach chapter 41 and 18. Let me just try and get that real quick. You know why? Because I've read this before and I want to know why I wrote down in my Bible Sirach 41 and 18. So let's all read this together. Let's go through it. Sirach 41. and 18. Okay. All praises. Okay, it says, "Of an offense before a judge and ruler, of iniquity before a congregation and people, of unjust dealing before thy partner and friend." Now, you see that? Sometimes people get dealt with, even through leaders, unjustly through a partner and a friend. So imagine David was about to be dealt with unjustly through a leader or from a leader, you know? There's another one here that I've got, Isaiah 26 and verse 9 to 10. Let's see what this says. As I said, this was not fully planned. I'm just praying that the Most High puts the spirit to make sure that this runs as smooth as possible. So Isaiah 26 and verse 9. Gosh, I'm too far. And I've just lost that. No, I'll find it. Isaiah 26 and verse 9 to 10. Okay. With my soul, so this is Isaiah chapter 26 and verse 9. "With my soul I have desired thee in the night. Yea, with my spirit within me I will seek thee early. For when thy judgments are in the earth, the inhabitants of the world, will I learn righteousness. Let favor be showed to the wicked, yet he will not learn righteousness. In the land of uprightness will he deal unjustly, and will not behold the majesty of the Lord." Okay. Okay, so if you understand that in the prophet of Isaiah, yes, there was a prophecy about those that will deal unjustly, and the Most High would put the wicked in the seat of judgment, amongst the people. But then at this point, yes, they will deal unjustly. Now, let me read verse 11, because check this. Remember, I said that Saul's situation was jealousy. Check this. Verse 11. So this is Isaiah 26 and verse 11. "Lord, when thy hand is lifted up, they will not see, but they shall see and be ashamed for their envy at the people. Yea, the fire of thine enemies shall devour them." You see that? they will acknowledge that, yes, they are very envious of the people. And which people are we talking about in this situation? Saul's jealousy over David, even though he loved David. Look at Cain and Abel. There was it's always it's an envious spirit, and you need to beware of those envious friends as well. Jealous spirit, because they will drive you out completely. They will assassinate your character. That's not a friend. So let's go back to Samuel, First Samuel 19, wasn't it? Okay. So verse 8 reads this. So this is the first book of Samuel, chapter 19 and verse 8. And there was a war again, and David went out and fought with the Philistines and slew them with a great slaughter, and they fled from him. And the evil spirit from the Lord was on Saul. Why? Let's find out. As he sat in his house with his javelin in his hand, and David played with his hand, and Saul sought to smite David even to the wall with the javelin. But he slipped away out of Saul's presence, and he smote the javelin into the wall. And David fled and escaped that night. Why was Saul jealous? Remember, Jonathan reminded him that he slew the Philistine and he rejoiced. Why are you now trying to throw a javelin at David after he's now gone and slew the Philistines again? Envious because he was well favored from by the people. You know, let me see if I had to read on further down. Why can't I read this properly? These glasses are broken. I think I'm going to end there with that. You can read on down to verse 23 because actually, you know what? I'll read down. I'll continue rather than saying reading your own time, just so you know that at least it's in this session. Okay, verse 11. Saul also sent messengers unto David's house to watch him and slay him in the morning. And Michal, David's wife, told him, saying, If thou save not thy life tonight, tomorrow thou shalt be slain. So Michal let David down through a window, and he went and fled and escaped. And Michal took an image and laid it in the bed, and put a pillow of goat's hair for his bolster, and covered it with a cloth. And when Saul sent messengers to take David, she said, He is sick. And Saul sent the messengers again to see David, saying, Bring him up to me in the bed, that I may slay him. And when the messengers were come in, behold, there was an image in the bed with a pillow of goat's hair for his bolster. And Saul said unto Michal, Why hast thou deceived me so, and sent away mine enemy, that he is escaped? And Michal answered Saul, He said unto me, Let me go, why should I kill thee? So imagine, that's again having a wife that's a good friend, because she obviously protected him. Your wife is not just a wife, someone that you procreate with. They have to be your friend, because before knowing your wife, you need to know them as a friend. So there you go. Anyways, um, verse 16. And when the messengers were come in, behold, there was an image in the bed with a pillow of goat's hair from his bolster. And Saul said unto Michal, Why hast thou deceived me so, and sent away mine enemy, that he is escaped? And Michal answered, Saul, he said unto me, Let me go, why should I kill thee? So David fled and escaped, and came to Samuel to Ramah, and told him all that Saul has done to him. And he and Samuel went and dwelt in Naioth. And it was told Saul, saying, Behold, David is at Naioth in Ramah. And Saul sent messengers to take David. And when they saw the company of the prophets prophesying, and Samuel standing as appointed over them, the Spirit of God was upon the messengers of Saul, and they also prophesied. So imagine that. Saul sent them with a spirit. So imagine Saul's spirit being shed upon his messengers to go and kill David. But then the spirit of the Most High is was bestowed upon them when the prophets were prophesying, and they decided to prophesy. And when he was told Saul, he sent other messengers, and they prophesied likewise. So Saul sent more, and they were like, it's like kind of sending someone to do something, and when they get there, it's like their whole mindset's changed. It's like, oh damn, I'm not even here doing what I'm supposed to be doing now. I'm just doing, well, actually they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, but they're not there what they were told to do by the king, who had an evil spirit upon him, a murderous spirit. Okay. And Saul sent messages again the third time, and they prophesied also. Then went he also to Ramah, and came to a great well that is in Seku, or Seku. And he asked and said, where are Samuel and David? And one said, behold, they are at Naioth in Ramah. And they went thither to Naioth in Ramah, and the Spirit of God was upon him also. And he went on and prophesied until he came to Naioth in Ramah. So even Saul was like, damn, all praises, the Most High got the Spirit on him to be able to prophesy, and was in the same Spirit, you know. So he was, Saul had a very delicate spirit, one that he couldn't fathom himself at times, because when he had the evil spirit at the beginning, obviously David played the harp. So, some of us are battling some heavy spirits, even in our friendships. And it gets to this point where, at times, if you acknowledge that you are not being a good friend to someone, you may be jealous or envious of them. The best thing to do to pray and say, look, if the first thing is to acknowledge your offense. Like, Father, I'm having problems dealing with this friend here. Help me so I can deal with them accordingly, and stay in the spirit. I'm going to read verse 24, then I need to go to the toilet. It says, and he stripped off his clothes also and prophesied before Samuel in like manner, and lay down naked all that day and all that night. Wherefore they say, is Saul also among the prophets? Because obviously he was in that realm of, he had the spirit on him. And let's pray that we all have that spirit on us, especially when he's trying to deal with being a friend and having a friend. Just give me a moment. All right, then. Oh, gosh. Anywho. All right, let's continue. All right, so I was only going to read to 23, but the stripped off his clothes, it's like a point of, like when we put on sackcloth and things like that. So obviously Saul would have been in like some royal array and stuff, so he had to humble himself. That's the whole purpose of putting on sackcloth. And that's the other thing as well, being humble around our brethren, even if they're being evil towards us. Because if you notice, David was always humble before Saul, always humble before his friend Jonathan, and Jonathan was always humble and a great servant as well before him. This is why we need to serve one another, you know. So it's crazy. Sorry, I've only noticed in the comments here. Hey, shalom, brother Chokmah. Hey, hermano, feliz sábado. Yeah, it's great to have you on here. I was focusing in the scriptures, didn't even notice. Oh wow. But yeah, I'm just gonna go before I continue. The part where you just read typed, what's heavy about that is Jonathan could care less about loyalty to his father, the king, over doing right by his brother. Of course, because there's errors that we made. It's like when you read in First Maccabees, where we were following ordinances of the commandments of the king. It also happened at the time of King Josiah when he went up to when I think it was the Pharonico. He went to war in Carchemish. Yeah, and I think it was Josiah. Yeah, he did not listen to the word of the Most High from that came through King Pharonico, the king of Egypt at that time. This is the time when they were celebrating. I can't remember which feast it was, but he started to do things according to his commandments. And also, when in Maccabees, we were following the commandments of the king rather than the commandments of the Most High. And the commandments of the Most High says to love your neighbor as thyself and to have brotherly love and things like that. If the king's commandments are contrary to what, or their spirit is contrary to the spirit of the scriptures, then you need, this is where you have to, you're at a crossroads, you have to draw the line. Yes, you show your reverence to the king, but if the king is going to steer you into sin, what are you going to do? Are you going to admonish that king? Are you going to correct the king? Or are you going to be like, oh no, it's the king? Because this is what's happening in a lot of these congregations where, because they're in an eminent place or in a certain rank, they're scared to deal with them. And you know what? Whilst I'm there, I will get back on track. I'm going to go to First Timothy chapter 5 and verse 17, because you know what shocked me? You brought something out, because even if your friend is in a high rank, imagine you're just like, in a high, your best friend is a manager in the workplace and you work at the same workplace, and it's like your manager is doing something which is against the work protocol. Now, as a friend, are you going to be scared to go to them because, oh, that's my friend, or they're up here and I don't, I'm not in a position to talk to them about this. Da, 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 da. Let's get the scriptures on certain situations like that, because we're supposed to be, but like if we apply Matthew 18 to our brethren, friend, and you go through stages. If you don't acknowledge, you bring two or three witnesses, and if not, you bring them before the whole congregation. After that, okay, and then that's when they get judged. Okay, this is why you have juries in a in the courts. So where's gonna go? First Timothy chapter 5 and verse 17. Then I'll get back on track. This is actually what you just said is very plausible. First Timothy chapter 5 and verse 17. Now, this scripture, when I was first told this, I took it the way I was taught. I was naive. I was a babe, so I'm absorbing this as a sponge. But then when you actually read the whole context of it, you'll understand that despite your position, if you want to treat this person as a brother and have respect for them, you would put them in the right place or stay in the right place for not only, well, predominantly your own salvation is supposed to be working out, and also to assist that person. I'll check this. First Timothy 5:17 says this: let the elders that rule well be counted worthy of double honor, especially they who labor in the word and doctrine. Okay. So when that happened, that's like when I first heard that, I was hearing things like the breakdown that when you give your offerings to the congregation money, they can get some of it as well. They can eat some of that cake. You know, the double honor is because they're obviously. He says when you listen to this, the double honor is because they're supposed to be watching over the flock and also still labor like they are brothers as well, like servants. That's exactly what they're supposed to be doing. Okay, so you honor them by respectfully being an elder above you in that sense to help watch over the flock, and also labor like a servant. Now, it says here, against an elder, receive not an accusation, but before two or three witnesses. Now, if an elder's going to give you an accusation, you still need to have witnesses there. All right. Now, when you read the verse after that, check this. Them that sin rebuke before all, that others may fear. I was told, don't rebuke the elder. Don't rebuke the elder. And that's where we start to lose respect for the Most High and what He told us to do. Because when you read verse 1, I'm going to read First Timothy chapter 5 and verse 1. It says, rebuke not an elder, but entreat him as a father, and the younger men as brethren. Now, this is where you can go into Ezekiel about being able to ask your father questions about his behavior. You don't rebuke, you admonish, and we're going to get to scriptures about that, because maybe we don't understand why our father, someone that's more learned and skilled, has behaved. When I say father, I'm saying like your elder, has done something that we don't understand. You have to question it. Sirach 11 and 7 says, examine the truth, blame not thou before thou examine the truth. Understand first and then rebuke. So you question it. If what they say is against scripture, and that's when you can rebuke, because when you read further down in verse 20 that I just said, it says them that sin. So anybody, no one's exempt from rebuttal. Rebuke before all. And this is love at the end of the day. Now, if you are a true friend to somebody, then the rebuttal will come. You will give them that rebuttal, because you don't want them to die. Remember, the wages of sin is death. Them that sin, rebuke before all, correct them. Otherwise, if you don't correct them, you're now gone against Leviticus chapter 5 and verse 1. You've gone against Ezekiel chapter 3 and verse 17. You've gone against all of them, because now the blood's on your hands because you didn't rebuke the person, regardless of their status, stature, and whatnot, king or no king. Jonathan, as Chokmah just wrote, the loyalty to his father, and he put quote unquote in the exclamation loyalty, that so-called loyalty is like, that's biased loyalty, where it's like, oh, that's I can't do that because that's my dad. Yeah, he's just murdered 3 people. Thou shalt not kill, but I can't say anything to my dad that he's done wrong because he's my dad. Right? No. That loyalty is the wrong type of loyalty you should be having. That's mean supporting someone in their sin. We can't be doing that. You can't support your friend in sin, right? Okay, so anyways, let's go back. Thanks for that, Chokmah. I really appreciate you bringing that out. It's an excellent point. Leader, no leader, brother, friend, whatever, right? The law applies to all of us. Okay, and from here, Sirach, chapter 11 and verse 29. See, I haven't got these in a specific order, but I'll just elaborate because it's still on the same topic. So we're going to go to the book of Sirach, chapter 11 and verse 29. Because we have to be like as I say, proving a friend first and this and that. We need to be mindful of the people that we let into our circles. Because sometimes I've dwelt with someone that I've known for so many years, and then all of a sudden they've deceived me. I may have done the same to someone. I may have been really close with someone, and then all of a sudden the spirit could have come on me, and then I'm not dealing with them right. And this is back in the world, even in the truth, it could have happened. I believe it has happened. I can't deny it. Where I've probably gone sideways with a brother who's probably hasn't done me wrong, and I'm not, there's a session that I did before about rule over spirit. I did it a while back, actually. I might do it on this one time, where we don't have full rule over our spirits. When you catch a spirit, you start to get impatient with somebody, use bad language, probious words. It's like you say, I don't mean to. It's just like you have no control over it. We've all been there. But yeah, Sirach 11 and 29. Okay. It says, bring not every man into thine house, for the deceitful man have many trains. Now, this is the thing. The reason why it says that, because you may meet a friend and you don't know what their previous walk has been like. You don't know where they've been. This is like why the Most High said to Moses to put off thy shoes, because his walk was not according to the spirit. He was walking in the way of the Egyptians, the captivity. So he said to put off thy shoes, forget all that stuff. Now, if he walked into the house of God with all those many trends, then it's going to be like the Levites walking into the holy of holies being defiled. They would die, you know. So the Most High, with his great friendship with Moses, not just them being a father to him, but a friendship, because if he told him, put off your shoes. This is how we supposed to be amongst our brethren and friends. We're supposed to just tell them straight. If your house, if in general, if your house is not meant to have shoes worn past the threshold, and because you favor a certain friend, you're like, oh, he's my friend, I'll let him go. No, the rule applies to all. Bro, take off your shoes. Take off your shoes. The only people that may be able to put on their shoes in your house are workmen that's going to do some work. And if you want to avoid all those workmen coming to your house to do repairs, then listen, brothers, learn to do it yourself. Hold on 1 second, yeah? All right. All right. I see that. Yeah, my bro's just going out. But yeah, so we need to be mindful when we have our friends in our circle, be careful, because if they're bringing in certain spirits with them, it's not going to be well with you, especially if they haven't managed to purge certain spirits off themselves. So I've had people come into my house and disrespect me in my own house. And when I say disrespect, it's not some do it. Some have used bad language. Some have argued with me in my own house. Some have just brought things with them, whether it's doctrine or their depressive states. The depressive states, I'm not really too fussed about, because our job to try and restore that person from that state in that sense. But be careful, because if you don't really know the person, maybe the person's been very nice. They've come crouching, being very sincere, and then all of a sudden, yeah, some jewelry's gone missing because they've got some spirits on, and they may have a debt that they need to pay, and not doing it personally to offend you. They're just worried about, damn, okay, there's an opportunity here for me to pay off my debt with this gold chain that I can see on the dressing table. You don't know. This is why we need to not be hasty to credit certain friends that we and allow to enter into our circle. I'm not saying that's every friend. I'm just using that as an example. Okay. So where was I at? Yeah. So let me read Sirach 11:29 again. I'm going to read down a bit to probably verse 30 something, probably to the bottom. So it says, yeah. So Sirach 11 and verse 29. Bring not every man into thine house, for the deceitful man have many trains. Like as a partridge taken and kept in a cage, so is the heart of the proud. And like as a spy watcheth thee for thy fall. Now, that is, do you remember the time of, what was his name? Was it Bar, Bar, Barnabas? Where there were people that he was in the book of Acts, where they were spying out the liberty of the preach of the gospel. Now imagine these people coming, portraying themselves to be friends, but they're actually like just looking about what you've got around you, what's in your hedge, basically, what's your weaknesses, and they're watching for your fall. Do you remember when we just read in Sirach about those friends that will lie in wait for your fall? I think I said it was in that one in Sirach 6, but there's another one in Sirach as well, but I'll get that one. But yeah, let me read on. It says, for he lieth in wait. Oh, this is it. And turneth good into evil, and in things worthy of praise, he will lay blame upon thee. Is that a friend? Waiting for you to fall just to make them feel better? It's like, when I just said that, make them feel better. Now let's get this. Let's speak of the world. I know some sisters and some brothers do this, right? They will dwell among sometimes, the scriptures say a beast dwelleth with its kind, but some people are envious of those that can match them. But I remember this growing up where you'd notice some good looking women, pretty beautiful women, and they'll chill with ones that don't look as good as them, just so they can make themselves feel better, you know. And that is very toxic. That's a toxic friend. You got to you look at yourself like, oh, you as one friend, like you look up to them as like some sort of idol. Oh, I want to be like them, and they're looking down on you thinking, I'm so like, if she was surrounded by a more pretty girls around her or more girls on her level, she'll feel more competitive. Same with some brothers. When you have a value in yourself, certain friends will be around you to use your value, but then also deny your value to your own face. You know, you'll be utilized, exploited. That's not a friend. If your friend exploits you, they're not a friend. If anything, if you see that in that person, then they're just someone who's utilizing you. It's just like a manager in a job. They're going to look for the right candidate to be able to fulfill the role. You don't have to be friends with them. They're just seeing it as business. And that's even with them. They're looking at their business in their personal lives as well. It's like, okay, let me use this person for this, and that, and third. But the fourth thing, I don't need that. Right? I'm going to just use them to focus on my own benefits. That's one of the things when I was going to talk about friends with benefits. And the reason why I didn't use the name friends with benefits is because there's a stigma attached to that term, right? We're talking about friends with benefits. Now, does your friend benefit you in your life? Do they help to exhort you? The scriptures say to esteem one above another. Do they esteem you? Do they encourage you? Or do they wait? Anytime you're brought low, do they say, look at you. See how you're a mess? They don't encourage you to lift up. Your spouse supposed to be doing that. Your true brother's supposed to be doing that. And your true friend's supposed to be doing that. And that's whether they are your even friends and brothers, sisters, like even you supposed to remember in your spousehood, right? It says love as brethren. Your brotherly love is one of the strongest loves that you can ever have, because you're supposed to look after your brothers and sisters like they are your own. Take care of them like yourself. And if your friends are not doing that and they're doing it for their own occasion, as was mentioned in Sirach 6, then they're not there for you. They're there for them. You're there for them, and they've got you there for them. You know, they're not there for you. They're a friend for their own occasion. Let's read on. Okay, I'm going to read verse 32. Now I'll read verse 31 again in Sirach chapter 11. It says, for he lieth in wait and turneth good into evil, and things worthy of praise will lay blame upon thee. That's their jealous spirit. Because anytime you do something good, they'll try and bring it down. This like when you've honestly won a game with someone and they say, oh, you cheated. You know. Verse 32. Of a spark of fire, a heap of coals is kindled, and a sinful man layeth wait for blood. Take heed of a mischievous man, for he worketh wickedness, lest he bring upon thee a perpetual blot. Meaning they will always hold something against you. They will find one error in you and always push that upon you. Oh, look, you've done this, and that. Even when you're trying to get right, they will always hold your past against you. Oh, do you remember the time when you did this? And you're like, damn, it's been years since. It's like, yeah, it's been years since you've done anything in error, but they will always hold that to make you feel stupid about yourself. Damn. You're like, you've moved on from this, you've evolved. It's like if you've got a felony or a DBS or whatever. Well, they call it DBS here in the UK, or well, it's still felony. And imagine 10 years down the line, you have not committed any offense, you have not broke the law, you haven't been convicted, but then that thing's still a stain on your name. When you have friends that keep that stain on your name and they're not even authorized or in an authoritative position to do so, if they're doing that, you got to think, what is their motive for doing that? Is that friendship? Imagine you've been a clean person for so long. If you was a drug addict or had an alcohol addiction, and you've been clean for so long, and they're always trying to remind you about, well, you was a drinker. It's up to you to say that because you're the one that's actually overcome that. But then they're still trying to bring you down because they've got nothing else to do. So they're going to hold all your weaknesses or your little kryptonites that you had in your past against you, to the point where they may have you revisiting that area. They lie in wait for you to actually fall for it, go back into that realm that you've escaped from how many years, and they'll hold it against you anymore. So that's more ammunition that they have to be that fake friend. And then what do they do? Now you're in a vulnerable situation. They make it like that you need them. They act like they're helping you, but they'll still keep you down that realm to keep them in an eminent place as opposed to you. This is why you need to know your friends. Believe not every spirit, but try these spirits. And the scriptures say to be sober and to be vigilant, because the devil lieth in wait to seek whom he can devour. That is a devilly spirit in a friend. So let's get that scripture so we know. So it's there referenced. Believe not every spirit, but try the spirits. No. The one I just said. The devil lying wait to seek who he can devour. I'm gonna have to Google it. Sorry. Oh, hold on. There we go. First Peter chapter 5 and verse 8, which reads, "Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour." So imagine they will seek who they can devour, who can they put down, so they can bring themselves up. To be mindful. All right. Um, so I'm going to read verse 33 again. It says, "Take heed of a mischievous man, for he worketh wickedness, lest he bring upon me a perpetual blot. Receive a stranger into thine house, and he will disturb thee and turn thee out of thine own." Imagine that. There's two ways you can look at this. Imagine someone comes into your house and drops a stink bomb. When I say stink bomb, I'm not talking literal, I'm using that as an analogy. And you imagine you've been in a peaceful household, you, your spouse, your children, and someone comes in that you didn't prove properly and decided to cause some cord. As Chokmah wrote on the comments as well, sowing discord. Planted one seed of discord in that house, and then it caused that seed manifested into some sort of strife within your own household to the point where you don't even want to be in that house. And then you realize further down the line that it was everything was perfect until that stranger that you received into your house has changed everything. The whole course of the unity of that family, the peace in that family. They disturb the hell of the peace out of it, you know. So this is why we have to be mindful about the people that we receive into our lives, for real. Anyways, let's go on. Stay in the book of Sirach. The reason why I'm going here about identifying a good friend is you'll have this. Remember when I was talking about, if a friend brings you low and then you are in a vulnerable state now. This is why I brought out First Peter 5 and 8 to be sober and be vigilant. Be aware. Be aware of the type of people when you start to see a pattern of their behavior around you and then you start to fall for it. You got to think, well, you need to be able to examine. Remember, the scriptures say to examine yourself. You need to be proving this person day in, day out, day in, day out. Because everything could be all like, rosy and dandy for a long time. And sometimes it can take a person years of deceit for them to get what they want. And that could be their plan. Remember, it says they lieth in wait, patiently waiting for you to fall, for them to get you in a certain position, back you against the corner. Do you know, like, it's like how can I say? It's like luring someone in. A spider, when they make their web with patience. They take their time creating this web, right? It's not like something done in 2 seconds, you know. And they will sit, and that spider will not move from that position, maybe for days on end, until its victim is trapped in its web. Then it's like, oh, got you, bang, snatch, you've been devoured. So we need to be mindful of these friends. There's some friends that are there to snatch you up, and they will take time with you to be like, you know what, I've got you. I've got you. Let me just take my time with this person. Let me lure them in. Let me kind of, what's the word? Let me groom them up a bit. Let me nurture them into getting them where I want them to be. And in all this time, you think that they're your good best friend and they'll keep you close at arm's length. If you want to be mindful of this person, either if you're strong, keep them at arm's length so you can know what they're about, or at early times, if you can, at the most convenient time where you've had some spiritual intervention to say, stay away from this person, then depart from them ASAP. Why is that so big? I shouldn't even be looking at myself, right? But be mindful, like it's best to just flee from that. Otherwise, you can get caught up to the point where you find it hard to depart from them now because you kind of established something and you kind of fearful of that person to be able to like say, you know what, even though we've done all this, it's time to go. And they're like, well, look what I've done for you, this and that. Look at everything that I've done. We've been here, we've done that. You know, if I'd have known this from the beginning, I wanted to be your friend, then they make you feel like you're the suspect and they're a victim now. Mm-mm. Right, let's get this in Sirach chapter 20. Sirach 20 and verse 14. Sirach chapter 20 and verse 14. The gift of a fool shall do thee no good when thou hast it, neither yet of the envious for his necessity, for he looketh to receive many things for none. So they give you one gift or help you out in one occasion, you receive it. Remember, it's this is the gift of a fool, not a gift of the righteous, the gift of a fool. Now remember, if you are righteous in your giving, you are a cheerful giver. This is a gift of a fool now. He ain't cheerful in his giving. He knew exactly what he was doing, or she. They'll do you one favor, and then they'll ask for something. Or they'll expect so much more for that one thing. Even if you've returned the favor, they'll ask for something else. And they'll always remind you of that one thing that they've always done. Do you remember the time when I did this for you? Do you remember the time when I went out of my way to do this? That same thing, they'll always hold that. And it makes you forget the things that you've done for them. Like you could say, well, if you're righteous, you'll be like, you don't want to turn around and say, well, look at the time I did this, because then you're now falling into their shoes, being like them. Your righteousness, your humility would probably have you in a situation where it's like, you know what, let me just do this. Let me just do this for peace sake. You know? Verse 15 says, he giveth little and upbraideth much. He opened his mouth like a crier. Today he lendeth, and tomorrow he will ask it again. Such an one is to be hated of God and man. Let me read that again. He giveth little and upbraideth much. He opened his mouth like a crier. Today he lendeth, and tomorrow he will ask it again. Such an one is to be hated of God and man. So I've just heard the door go. 1 second. No, people just come with some some folly. Hold on. Let's close this. So yeah, just imagine like I'm pretty sure many of us have had friends like this. Do you know what? I'll be honest with you. I've had a few of them around me, and I probably still think I have some. But this is the thing, what the scriptures say, to be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. You know, be wise around them, because some of these people that are maybe toxic, they may have some form of use to you. You have to be wise around it. It's like when we were befriended by other nations. They put us in good places. Some of our, patriarchs, forefathers, had good jobs, and it was the enemy that gave them the job. Well, obviously, it's all through the Most High. This is why Romans 13 is very important, to be subject to the higher powers. Obviously, we do it in righteousness, and if they're going to lead you to do sinful things or taint your spirit, then we need to depart from it, because we can end up turning just like them, or we take that bad spirit to the wrong places. The worst thing is ever, like if you're ever married or got children or anything like that, bringing the bad spirits from friends, well, so-called friends, um, bringing it home, stressing you out, and then you take it out on your family, and it's not right. And if that's a problem for you, then you need to either somehow try and tell this so-called friend that, listen, every time I have experience with you, I always seem to be taken out on the wrong person. They'll say, well, that's not my problem. That's the first thing that they'll say. They won't take accountability for it. I'm not sure what will happen. So we have to be mindful. So, anyways, let's go on. Um, let's go to the New Testament, Luke, the book of Luke, chapter 11. You see, like when I put together some of these sessions, some of it I wing it. I think the best ones are the ones that's winged, but this one, I was walking and I was just thinking about a lot of things based on friendships and that. When people say, "Oh yeah, I'm your friend," and I'm thinking, it's like having a title without a responsibility. It's like wanting to call yourself a manager, but not knowing how to manage, or reluctant to manage, or a CEO, or an entrepreneur, but you're not fulfilling the responsibilities. Now, if you're going to claim yourself to be somebody's friend, are you actually a true friend? Or if you say, "Yo, bro," yeah, you're my brother. Yes, brother. Like, you got to think, hang on, you got to look at all the bullet points, all the fundamentals which actually equate to you being an established brother or a sister. So these are things that having titles without the responsibility. You want to be a king, but if you a true king, if you saw what they did, because the kings today, or the monarchy today, um, they're different from the kings back in the day, because when you watch like the old war movies, the medieval ones and things like that, the king was always on the forefront, on the front line. He was there. Now, where do you find the king? Back in the palace in protection. What happens when a war breaks out and the president's got like all these bodyguards around him, and he doesn't go towards the war, he's going that way, but then sends the rest this way. So this is where people want the title without the responsibility. Anywho, let's go to Luke chapter 11 and verse 5. How you doing, Martin? Yeah. So, oh, you? Okay, cool. That's my sister's partner. Nothing to do with me. Anyways, Luke. That was like, because it's live as well. Obviously it's not going to get edited. That was just like the perfect moment. What did he leave anyway? That looked kind of interesting. Let me not get distracted. Luke 11 and verse 5. I swear, can't my sessions just be peaceful sometimes? 11 and verse 5. There you go. The book of Luke, chapter 11 and verse 5. Ready? And he said unto them, which of you shall have a friend, and shall go unto him at midnight, and say unto him, Friend, lend me 3 loaves? For a friend of mine in his journey is come to me, and I have nothing to set before him. And he from within shall answer and say, Trouble me not, the door is now shut, and my children are with me in bed. I cannot rise and give thee. Wow, let's keep going. I say unto you, though he will not rise and give him because he is his friend, yes, because of his importunity, he will rise and give him as many as he needeth. Let me read it again. I say unto you, though he will not rise and give him because he is his friend, yet because of his importunity, he will rise and give him as many as he needeth. And let's get the definition of importunity, right? Importunity. Oh, let me use this one because I've put my main phone on flight mode because I didn't want the phone to ring. Let's try it on this one. I could just use the laptop that I'm just using right now. Let's just get it on here. Importunity. Okay. It says importunity, it's a noun. It means persistence, especially to the point of annoyance. Now, I'm pretty sure a lot of us, right, have been in that situation when we don't really want to do something, but we just do it anyway. And it's annoying when someone asks, but you still do it. Okay. I've just found this here. It says, what does importunity mean in the Bible? So let's find out. It says, the quality or state of being importunate, an importunate request or demand. Right. So it says to use the Merriam-Webster. I think this is a Merriam-Webster definition. Let's see if I can find something else. Synonyms: claim, demand, done, requisition, ultimatum. Overwhelmed by the often conflicting importunities of pressure groups. Okay, so obviously he's annoyed. The person's knocked at his door. Like, it's late. I've got my children here. I didn't want to do it, but this and that. But it's a problem at times because if you're a cheerful giver, then it shouldn't be an issue. Okay, let's just go to the scripture here where it says, well, so go back to Luke chapter 11 and verse 5. It was a question that was asked by the Messiah. Said, which of you have one of these friends that does this? And it's annoying, but you still do what you got to do on your part. And that's practically what it is. So I'm going to read verse 7 now. It says, and he from within shall answer and say, Trouble me not, and the door is now shut, and my children are with me in bed. I cannot rise and give thee. I say unto you, though he will not rise and give him, because he is his friend, yet because of his importunity, he will raise and give him as many as he needeth. That'll be like me, if I'm annoyed, someone says, like, oh, Nathan, we've got this for me. And I'm like, oh gosh, I'm tired. I need to get to work. Why are you knocking at my door this time? Yeah. I'd be like, I'd give him enough so he don't have to come again like later on and say, oh damn, it's all gone. This is what happens at times. We have friends like that, but then you being that good friend, you still do it because remember the scriptures talk about, if I was naked, you clothed me. If I was in prison, you came to visit me. Even if it was your fault your own fault that you're in prison, a good friend will still come to see you, to make sure that you got your sanity right and this and that. Even if it's you're the reason why you haven't got any clothes, you may have sold them for some stupid stuff, but then someone came and clothed you. Your good friend came and said, you know what, Nathan, you're silly for doing that. You know, why do you do it? Like, you're the one with the problem, but here, take these. But if these are gone, that's it. That's on you. But more than likely, that true friend will still keep giving, because the scriptures talk about that. Because where's the one? Where it says, then you will heap coals upon a fire upon their heads. You being a cheerful giver, you're going to receive your reward in heaven, right, in the kingdom, for being so persistent and long suffering with that person as a friend. But you have to be mindful, because you can't let them drain you, because the scriptures say to give according to thy power. If you can't afford to give, then you can't. You can't give if you can't afford it. You know. Anyways, let's read on. Where I'm going to read down to. I'm going to read down to verse 12. So where was I at? Verse 9 says this. And I say unto you, ask and it will be given you. Sorry, let me read that again. Ask and I say unto you, ask and it shall be given you. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and it shall be opened unto you. For everyone that asketh receiveth, and for he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened. If a son shall be asked bread of any of you that is a father, will he give him a stone? Or if he ask him a fish, will he for a fish give him a serpent? Or if he shall ask an egg, will he offer him a scorpion? If ye then, being evil, know how to give good gifts unto your children, how much more shall your heavenly Father give the Holy Spirit to them that ask him? You see what I'm saying? So our giving is obviously is ritualistic towards us trying to receive the Spirit from the Most High, because it's the Most High that puts the Spirit on us to be a cheerful giver. If we're evil with it, when someone does ask, what if we ask for something righteous of the Most High and He gives us something unworthy of righteousness? What if you ask for wisdom and He gave you dumbness, like docileness in return? You know, that's like us not being a cheerful giver. We're asking for something right. We're asking for something good, something that's actually necessary. And if someone asks for something that's very necessary for them, then we should give. Because if it's bread, food, clothing, remember, the scriptures say this. Hold on. It's in the Apocrypha. There we go. Sirach chapter 29 and verse 21. It says, the chief thing for life is water and bread and clothing and a house to cover shame. So if someone needs shelter, sincerely needs shelter, you're not going to give them shelter. If they need clothing, are you going to clothe them? If they need water, aren't you going to saturate them at least, give them, enough fluids? And if they need bread, aren't you going to feed them? Because we ask many things of the Most High, and we question ourselves: do we deserve this because of our mannerisms towards our friends and our brothers, sisters, parents, even? You know. So this is for, like, we need to be mindful of how we treat our friends and how we acknowledge the friends, so-called friends around us. But on your part, the main thing is us taking accountability for our own actions as being a friend. So knowing a friend, also, you have to look at yourself. Ask yourself, am I a good friend? As opposed to, do I have good friends around me? So you need to just ask yourself, am I a good friend to somebody? Do I help as much as I can within my power? But anyways, let's go on. Let's go to Sirach chapter 19, because the problem is, because Chokmah said something as well about people having rumors spread about them, or maybe you've detected an issue. This is the whole Matthew 18 situation as well, because someone has spread a rumor about someone, and you've actually rode on this speculation. Well, sorry, rode on the gossip, the negativity that's been spoken of you or about somebody else, and you decided to ride on that and believe it. Remember, the scriptures say in Sirach 11 and 7, as I said, um, blame not thou before thou hast examined the truth, understand first and then rebuke. So if you've only had it from hearsay, remember, we need evidence. Scriptures say prove all things. So if you hear something or may have heard something about a friend, are you going to instantly take what someone has told you about this friend, or are you going to consult the person first? All right. So let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 19 and verse 13. Which reads this. It says, admonish a friend. It may. Hello, my friend. Hi. Okay, I'm just doing a class right now. I knew I should have gone upstairs. I knew this was going to happen. Mom said, I'll sit downstairs because it's going to be quiet. Anyways, let me continue. Just hold on a second because I can hear my sister talking from a mile away. Elliot's gone out and I'm on a class right now. Downstairs. Mom told me to do it downstairs. It's all right. I should have gone upstairs, innit? But you said you felt comfortable downstairs. Oh, gosh. And I'm live, you know. Hi. I'm going to have to... Oh, gosh. Do you know what? Let me just continue. Guys, I think you should be able to hear me out. I should have gone upstairs. Anyways, I'm not far away from finished. So anyways, so Sirach chapter 19 and verse 13. Admonish a friend, it may be he have not done it, and if he have done it, that he do it no more. So if they have done it, then they won't do it, but you admonish them. You question them, you consult with them first, because sometimes, yes, we do jump onto rumors at times. Hi, Kimberly. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this is, well, at least this is the transparent organic Nathan. You get Simmer family and all that stuff in the background. No, don't worry. But yeah, so admonish them, question, consult with them, because sometimes it could be just hearsay. Verse 9. Sorry, where was that? There we go. Admonish thy friend, it may be he have not said it, for if he have, that he speak it not again. So if it's confirmed that they did say something backbitten or said something that they shouldn't say, then, if they've been rebuked right, they'd be sorrowful and they'll say, sorry, I will not do it again. But maybe it will happen because it could be a spirit that they're battling. And then it's like, if, your friend trespasses against you and, after rebuttal, they repent, you forgive them 70 times 7. But at least before doing that, prior to doing that, you admonish them, you consult with them at first. All right. Verse 15, it says, admonish thy friend, for many times it is a slander, believe not every tale. I've been slandered against many times, and I may have said something about someone which was said to me without going to the person. I'd probably be a liar if I said I've never done that ever in my life. So, have you heard about what this person's done? Even though you haven't gone to the person, you've just gone because of hearsay. Anyways, verse 16. There is one that slippeth in his speech, but not from his heart. And who is he that hath not offended with his tongue? We all have. We may not have meant to say it, and it comes out, once the recipient has heard it, it's hard for them to eat. When someone says, take it back, you can't take it back. Because even if you say, all right, I'll take it back, that's still resonating in their mind now, regardless whether you took it back or not, it's still there. All right. Verse 17, it says, admonish thy neighbor before thou threaten him, and not being angry. Give place to the law of the Most High, because if they did do something wrong, remember the Most High said vengeance is his. You can't be holding a grudge. Remember, let's get that in Leviticus 19 and 18. Leviticus 19 and verse 17. So it says here, it says, like 19 and 8, I'll start from verse 17 actually. It says, thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him. So that's when you do the admonishment. If it's obviously sin what they've done or something that can lead to sin, then obviously you stop them. You go to them personally, face to face, not blaring their name out all over the all over the congregation or friends and family and start to cause rumors and strife and that gossip. None of that. You go to that person and correct them. Okay? Verse 18 says, thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love the Lord thy neighbor as thyself and the Lord. So that's the true love you should have for your friends, right? And learn to examine them first. And the best friend to examine is yourself, to know, to be able to identify if you are a good friend to someone. All right, I'm going to leave it at that. And there was a book about a specific friendship in, I think it was the Book of Samuel, but I'll do that on another occasion. All right, so with that, pray you have a blessed Sabbath and catch up soon. All right, shalom.